All right, this is TJRS interview number, I think, 4 at this point. The first interview of 2023. I am joined by the man himself, a person who I've been following for the last, I don't know, 5, not even that long, like maybe 3 years at this point, Mr. Mike Figueredo. Did I pronounce
How's
that
it
right?
going? Yeah, no, that was perfect.
Mike Figueredo of the Humanist Report. He is also the host of the show Leftist Mafia with David Dole and Matt Bender and Lance from the Serfs. And I can't think of her name. I know who she is,
Olimi.
but Olaimi Alurin, I think is how you pronounce her name, because
Mhm.
I actually follow her on Twitter. I hope she follows me back after this. Um, so yeah, the host of the new show Leftist Mafia that's on YouTube. I think you guys do it through David's stream, if I'm not mistaken.
There's a couple actually. So Illuminati does one through her second YouTube channel, The Surfs. On their Twitch channel, they do it, and also on David's too. So there's a couple of different avenues, and then afterwards, myself and Matt Bender, we release the VODs on our respective channels. So yeah, lots of ways to watch it. It's also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all basically everywhere.
So basically, you could watch it and listen to it at the same time or on the go. Kind of what I do.
Absolutely.
um, of course, the Humanist Report. You've been doing the show. I think I was watching an interview in kind of preparation for this. I think you're going on 7 years at this point.
Almost 8 actually. This is our
Oh,
7th
okay.
year, and June will make 8, believe it or not. So it's a very long time.
Can you? I guess can you kind of believe it? It's been that long.
Not at all. This is
Yeah,
almost the longest job that I've ever had, almost. So yeah, it's crazy.
because you were also a PhD student at one point, or
Yeah.
you were actually. Which
Yeah.
I would like you to talk about that at some point. But yeah, also just up the chat. Hey, Adrian Vixen, thanks for joining in. As always, before, yeah, I'm streaming live. That's wrong. I should have corrected that. As always, let me throw up the like and subscribe. Here it is. Just make sure like and subscribe on YouTube and Twitch. I'll throw that up again at the end of the episode. But I guess we'll just get right down to it. So, and I got my questions here, so I'm just going to show you. This is what this is. I wrote everything
Nice. You're all
down.
prepared. I love
Well,
it.
here's the thing. I also have to mention we planned to do this last Wednesday, and then you had your computer issues, and then we had to reschedule. So it gave me a little ample time to plan again. So it's it was worth it, and also excuse the nervousness because I you know having a disability, being autistic, and doing this kind of thing, and being around people that I actually admire on the left, I can't help but fanboy. I mean, you probably get
you're,
the
no,
same
you,
thing as well.
you're doing fantastic, and I really appreciate your patience. I felt so bad when I had to cancel last week. I was really frustrated because I just
No, no,
I could not
not
get
at
it
all.
done in time. So I'm like, all right, I don't want to rush through the stream, and then that means I have to rush through your stream. So I just felt like it was better to postpone it. And yeah, thank you. I'm glad that it's getting done though,
Yeah,
because I
and
hate technical difficulties.
yeah, same. Like I'm still trying to learn how to use OBS Studio. Like
Hmm.
instead of using this to stream, like I want to be able to like do this full time after I graduate from college hopefully next fall. And I'm kind of getting into it, but there's still some issues that I probably need to work with first. So this is
Yeah.
kind of the avenue which I'm going to for now. But it's worked for about a year and a half. So thumbs up. So I guess the first question I want to ask you that kind of ties into with like left media, because I went through these questions and then like wrote them down, like changed some and then added some back in. So like everything that's going on in like left media at this point, like what is the best part for you as far as doing this?
It's really cathartic to be able to see people respond so positively to the videos that I put out. It's nice to be able to have an avenue to express myself. Because a lot of people, they kind of just like they don't have this platform, so it's a real privilege. Like yesterday or today, I put out a video on McDonald's and the ways that they're fighting a particular law in California that empowers workers. And it really made me mad. Like as I was covering the story and researching it, it made me so mad. And so then to like put out that video that I worked really hard on and then have people respond by saying, "Yeah, I'm pissed off too. I agree with you." It just feels really good. Like it makes me feel a little bit more sane to be able to have so many like-minded people view the world in the way that I view it, and also see it as equally outrageous and crazy as I view it too.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of us in the community that are pretty much like we tend to like see eye to eye on certain things, and then like there are other times where it's just like, oh yeah, we don't necessarily agree on that issue, but there's still respect. That's the kind of thing that really gets to me is that we could still agree on certain things on the left, and we could still have our disagreements, but when it comes down to it, there's that genuine sort of unity and respect that the left doesn't really have at this point. Like
Hmm.
there have been times like, you kind of look back, at the last 5, 6 years, even probably shorter than that, between the Bernie campaigns about how the left was unified, and we had all this like, this like camaraderie with one another with doing like different, like being on each other's podcasts and shows and whatnot. And post Bernie, and I think you touched on this on, I think it was Crystal, Kyle and Friends, and I don't know where else, but like the left is kind of at a like disenfranchising at this point, don't you think?
Yeah, I kind of feel like we have factionalized so much that we almost don't exist. Like we've purified ourselves into oblivion. We've factionalized to the point where we're all in our little bubbles, and it's discouraging to see. But I think that one thing to keep in mind is that a lot of things that happen on leftist Twitter aren't representative of the real world. Like we kind of live in our own bubble, and so all of
Mhm.
the arguing and infighting that we see oftentimes, I think it feels louder than it is in actuality because it's kind of like the world that we've created for ourselves online. But most people, they're not as hateful of other leftists. They don't even know who the fuck we are, right? Like I don't know if we could curse
Right.
in your stream, so I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. You can swear. This is like
Okay.
nothing is off limits here.
Okay. Well, like, they don't know like some of these issues that come up, like, uh some person fighting with this person. Like it's all kind of like in our own niche bubble. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Even though that it is discouraging to see any leftists fighting each other, I think some of these battles we need to have. Some of them are a little bit petty. But yeah, ultimately, I think we'd all be better off if we just like stopped with the petty bullshit. But we're leftists, and that's just part of the game. We have to hate each other.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing of like maybe we should just log off of Twitter after a while, I mean, does kind of come to mind. But it's also like
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it like this, but we kind of need Twitter at this point, even though that it's kind of going down the rabbit hole that it's going down with Elon and like all the censorship and all the other like here comes a swear word for me, bullshit that's going
Yeah.
down with social media. It's like myself, I've tried to limit my social media practice, but like, it's hard, it's like
Mhm.
you need not necessarily the clickbait, which I also try to avoid, but you just need to like keep in touch with people. And I guess the good thing about Twitter is that I've made a lot of friends that are like-minded on the left, and some of them live here in town. And it's just like, I mean, I live in Kansas City, and two people who do a podcast here in town, the Vanguard, they
Oh,
live
yeah,
here.
they are
Yeah,
from Kansas City.
that live here in town. And it's like there have been times I'm like, hey, I want to go and maybe just talk to them and hang out and have a drink or something like that, like. And that's the other thing, like we don't, with me, and like I don't necessarily agree with them on every little single thing. Like there would be points where I would disagree, but it's like being from Kansas City, I mean, this is the true story. We don't have a lot of leftist, podcaster, streamer people here where I live in the Midwest. I mean,
Mhm.
we're like split down the middle. One of their guests, who is a local radio personality here in town was also a leftist. His point was, we don't have a lot of leftists here. It's mainly, West, like what he called West Wing, like moderate liberal blue Democrats versus the Trumpian conservative red states, which by and large, this state, since I've been voting for the last 10 years, has gone to the Republicans.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, it went for Trump in both elections, 2016 and 2020. And we need that sort of Midwest, I guess, independent media podcaster people on Twitch and YouTube in places
Yeah.
like Missouri. And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. There needs to be more solidarity. That's so cool that you're from the same town as the Vanguard. I love the Vanguard. You can tell that they are just good faith actors. Like they try their best to be accurate and be fair to people. And I'm sure that they have disagreements with me and whatnot on policies, but like so long as there's a level of solidarity and the ability to come together and have these discussions, I think that that really is important. I think the problem is that a lot of leftists, they don't want to have these conversations with each other,
mhm,
and they kind of just want to instead tune out or cancellation is not the right word, so some other synonym, but just like write somebody off, I guess. And I think
mhm,
that that really is not okay. I think that we need to be more open-minded, especially with each other, and I think we do better to listen to more voices, even if we don't necessarily agree.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, again, the whole solidarity thing comes to mind, especially in this post Bernie left era that we're entering in, as far as
Hmm.
who's going to be the nominee in 2024. Should, fingers crossed, Biden, uh, because let's just be real, at his age, Biden's probably not going to make it through another term, let alone his first term. I mean,
He's gonna try.
he's going to try, but like, I'm trying to like, anyway, I don't want to go too far, but I guess going back to the start of the Humanist Report, as I said, you've been going on for, as you say, 8 years at this point. Like, how did that come to be? Now, I know that you were a student in college, you were a PhD studying political science. I've went back and probably watched your very first video back when you were doing the podcast version,
Mm.
which seems like many, many years ago, like that nervousness that you had. And here you are, like all these years later, just, it's so great to see how far you've come,
Oh, thank you.
absolutely, no problem. Like, how did it come to be for you?
It's kind of a mixture of certain things. I kind of played around with the idea, but I didn't really take it super seriously. I guess I took it semi seriously. I really just wanted a little bit of public speaking experience because I had none. I've always been more of a writer than an orator. So I was going to start teaching before I started the Humanist Report in like a year or two. I was already a TA grading papers, so I was probably gonna be assigned a couple of classes soon. So I felt like I was really unprepared. So I wanted to give myself the opportunity to kind of learn and grow. And there's no other place to learn and grow than really like YouTube, because even if
Mm,
people will be mean, I think that you could still watch yourself and learn from you. And I also thought it would be really cool to just have a sort like this outlet to where I can scream about politics and see if other people respond, maybe build up a small community. But I started it, kind of debated whether or not I really wanted to start it. Um, and I did. Basically, I was not going to do it. I made a logo and I was ready to go. And then I'm like, what's the point? And I decided not to do it. And then my husband's like, no, you should just give it a try. You might like it. So I did. And
mhm.
yeah, it just kind of took off. And I don't know why. I think part of it is luck. Part of it is I was hitting on something that other people uh, really wanted to see more of. It was around the time that Bernie Sanders was running his first campaign, so it was kind of like a perfect storm situation. And the rest is history. I went full time like a year and a half after starting it, and I'm really lucky to be able to do that, because nowadays when you start a show on YouTube, it's very, very difficult
Oh,
uh,
absolutely.
to get any any
Traction.
monetization, any traction, subscribers, because they changed the algorithm. So it's
Oh
really
yeah.
difficult. I try to do my best to like not close the door behind me, and make sure that I'm helping smaller voices,
Mm.
because it's so difficult. So anyone who's starting out now, I don't envy it, but I got lucky and I got in before the algorithm changed, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the algorithm has changed like drastically over the last few
Hmm.
years. I mean, you mentioned this like TikTokification of YouTube where the dislike button's gone. They're doing shorts now. It's like wherever whatever the new thing is, and in the case of like TikTok, it's like YouTube is kind of seeing what they're doing instead of like maybe making keep doing what they're doing original. They're like, oh, let's go do what this person is doing, and then just like copy that and then like repeat it, and then that'll hopefully get like new people around. And I think with you and other folks like TYT and Kyle Kalinske and the Majority Report and a bunch of other people, Vanguard, you guys are not really seeing like a lot of traction, as I say, like you should be doing. I mean, even like David Dole in one of his videos, he's like, there's not a lot of people watching the new videos he's putting out because YouTube is, for whatever reason, hiding whatever content he puts out in a lot of ways. And it's like, it's this again, this seismic change in the algorithm where it's like there should be like a diverse group of voices on the left and the right, but more so it's been on the right a lot more
Hmm.
in more recent years than the left. And that's really, for me as someone who's starting out, is very disheartening. And
Hmm.
it's like, I have to kind of start from scratch. That's why I've done this and Twitch, because there's always the secondary way to stream, what you do with Twitch. Like you saw what YouTube became and you stopped the podcast version and you just went and did Twitch one day a week, and it's just like it's kind of like the backup plan, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, you've got to diversify, especially in this day and age, because even if you start to build up a platform, there's nothing stopping these companies from just pulling the rug out from under you. So, like on
Ooh.
TikTok, I started to really post frequently on TikTok, and the video started to do well. We're approaching like 9,000 followers on TikTok. But the
Oh
problem
wow.
with TikTok is all of a sudden I get banned. If my video gets enough views and enough right wingers report it, it just gets banned. So, these platforms are, you mentioned how like YouTube is kind of moving towards TikTok, but all of these other platforms want to become YouTube. Facebook for years has been trying to get in the video market, and certainly they've
Mhm.
succeeded. But like YouTube is unlike anything else. So I wish that YouTube wouldn't just not be TikTok and would just be YouTube.
Yeah,
Um,
be itself.
but yeah, and part of it is we deal with news and politics, which YouTube has been very clumsy at trying to regulate, specifically due
Mhm.
to the rise of misinformation. And a lot of this kind of started during the adpocalypse, but the CEO of YouTube back in 2021 at the World Economic Forum actually admitted that there's a difference between authoritative news sources that the algorithm boosts and
Mhm.
non-authoritative news sources. So, if you're what that means is that like if you're watching a humanist report video, rather than the algorithm recommending you another humanist report video or a secular talk video, it's going to try to drive you away from us. So you're going to see a John Oliver recommendation or a CNN recommendation because they don't want people watching us so much as they want people watching CNN and YouTube. And what's interesting is if you go back, um, you'll see that when I first started, I had maybe like not even 5,000 subscribers. Some of the videos that I put out got more views than Fox News and CNN.
Mhm.
And I'm not even capping. It's insane to
Right.
think about, but they changed it, and so now those are the authoritative sources. And it's really frustrating because these authoritative sources, one of them is Fox News. So
Yeah.
why is Fox News being boosted when I have to debunk them and I'm being deprioritized in the algorithm? So it's not really about um, who is and isn't authoritative. It's not about facts or accuracy. It's just about like brand safety. And since these massive networks have proven that they can get ads and we haven't, YouTube's going to prioritize them. I get it on one hand, like YouTube's got to protect the entire platform. They've got to make sure that they keep the ads rolling in, and nothing that they do spawns an advertiser boycott. But I think Kyle Kalinske put it best in a recent video where he said we're kind of collateral damage, right? Where these conspiracy theorists, they make it bad for everyone, and the algorithm doesn't know the conspiracy theorists from those who debunk the conspiracy theories, and it's frustrating. But like, I don't want to cry too much about my situation. It's certainly frustrating, and I did grow faster before. It just is sad because now we're in this environment where so many new voices will never be heard. Like, there's
Yeah.
probably thousands of leftist content creators who are so talented, more talented than me, but because they chose to start at a later date, they just won't have the level of success that I have or Kyle Kalinske. And if they do, it'll grow much slower. So, I mean, sure, you can still be successful, but it just is really unfortunate because it's not a meritocracy anymore. And that's what
Yeah.
really hurts me, because YouTube used to be very open. And it's just now, unless you can pay for advertising, as right wingers do, or unless you don't do politics, you're kind of you're gonna have a really huge uphill battle. But I mean, you should still do it if you want to. It's just, you've got to know what you're getting yourself into. It's a really long and arduous journey to getting a bigger audience.
Yeah, and it also kind of shows like who's able to push the narrative in a way. It's like,
Hmm.
and who's able to like push the money. I think if you look at someone like Fox News, I mean, as like biased and terrible as they are, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't enjoy them. I never have for the last 25 years. Like, but they still have the money. They still have the ad revenue to push their agenda more on some place like YouTube, like Twitch, God forbid, or like
Hmm.
maybe Rumble, where you know Glenn Greenwald is, and then
Hmm.
someone like yourself or David Dole or Kyle or as I mentioned TYT, majority, like anybody on the left is able to like push that agenda. Like, this is what we are. We are the real kind of news commentator. That's the other thing about like streaming and broadcasting, is that I got into this because I was interested in broadcasting when I was 13, and the technology changed and the way to do it changed, and the do-it-yourself motive of what the, I guess, leftist content creators did, as far as being on the what I guess would be independent left media, and they like just did it themselves, and I thought, well, that's actually a pretty good way of doing things. I mean, it's more of like just kind of learning as you go along, but here I am, almost 2.5 years later, like still growing, even though that I'm only part-time.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
it sucks because, like, I think that when you're trying to reach new people or de-radicalize people or debunk conspiracy theories, like, a lot of folks, they don't find the legitimacy convincing. So, like, even though CNN has like the studio and all of these hosts with suits, they might just be like automatically turned off. Maybe they want to hear from some dude with a beard and tattoos, because I don't look like a conventional news broadcaster, because I'm not. I have no professional training in journalism. I try to do my best to be accurate, but like, I'm not mainstream. So, if they really wanted to combat misinformation, which is what they claim to want, they should stop like, I'm not saying that they have to put us in the authoritative news category, but
mhm,
to not deprioritize us would be important itself. Like, if they had a sort of I don't want to say like a verification process, but some type of way that we could apply and they could vet our channels and get us out of the gutter, I think that would help. But they just don't really seem interested in doing that, because it's so much safer with late night TV, John Oliver, CNN. So why bother? But yeah, it is unfortunate. But as long as I can do this full time and pay the bills, I feel odd complaining, because it's the best job I ever had. I enjoy it thoroughly. Sometimes it's kind of crushes my mental health, but overall it's really good. I'd rather work and do this than go back to Walmart or Subway.
yeah, same here. I mean, I've only had one actual real job in like 20, I'm actually 30 now, so I'm like in the 30 years I've been on this earth, I've only had one job, and it was in food business, and
Mhm.
it was not the best thing. It was really, like, seriously, like, draining for me mentally, physically. It wasn't I wasn't the right fit, and it was, like, hurting me financially, and so to finally have this, I mean, again, I'm in school, so I'm doing that as well, but to have this to kind of as a career move, again, from the broadcasting, like, perspective is always great.
Yeah.
And again, like, the whole way, as well as, like, the financial way to do it, as we do with Patreon and other, like, aspects to make an income. I mean, that's just the way to do it now, is that if you're
Mhm.
gonna do this either full-time or part-time, you have to be able to do this in a way to make some sort of, like, income to support yourself. I'd say, like, make, like, $1,000,000. That's, like, not as reasonable, and that's not, like,
Mhm.
what we're going for, but it's, like, it's a way to kind of it's a job, it's a passion, but it's also work, and the more work you put into it, the more outcome that will, come out of it, the more
Yeah,
positive
exactly.
outcome. Oh,
Exactly.
hold on, I wanna just throw this up here. How Blair You on YouTube says, "You're famous, John, give me your autograph." Well, I don't have a pen and pencil with me now, but, I'll, put a note on there. Oh, and Adrian wants to also to just say, "Yeah, you made a really great point." I put that up earlier, but I wanted to
Thank you,
bring
Adrian.
that up. So, and the fire emoji is always great. So I kind of want to also, because you seem to have a really good socialist leftist perspective that many, including myself, respect and have appreciation for. So I kind of want to just ask you, like, how would you define your early life and how it, like, shaped your political views to now?
I used to be very evangelical, not necessarily by choice, but that's just how I was raised. So it was my
Mhm.
default position.
I just
And
wanna make one point, I'm sorry to interrupt, but, like, you and I kinda have like, same religious, formal former I can't speak, religious upbringing. I think I watched your coming out video where you were brought up as Catholic, and like, all the stuff that went down. I actually went through that same religious, upbringing. I left it
mm,
at 17 because I realized that that wasn't what I believed anymore, and I didn't really feel that that was something I wanted in my life, and so I'm pretty much, I guess you could say, an atheist, meaning I generally do not believe in God. I don't have a faith. I mean, I sympathize with Buddhism, but I am generally I guess you call a Buddhist atheist then. But yeah,
mm,
that was just something that I wanted to point out, that we kind of have the similar upbringing as far as, like,
that's
religious
interesting.
fervor. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that about you. That's really interesting. Yeah, I was evangelical, and because it was like shoved down my throat so hard, it made me want to rebel like 10 times harder. And it's not
Mhm.
like, I was a rebel when I was a kid. Certainly I had questions. I was a little debate bro with my pastor and whatnot. But ultimately, like, because I was so brainwashed, like leaving the religion and realizing all the things that they told me and the ways that they like tried to get me to suppress my sexual orientation and take away any form of enjoyment, video games, movies, you name it.
Hmm.
I really like built up a resentment and really hate. Like I'm not just like atheist, like I'm anti-theist. Like I actively want to make sure that there's as few religious people as possible by convincing as many people as I can to drop their religion.
Hmm.
Because I think that religion is just so harmful for a number of ways. Like there's certainly people who can be religious and be normal. There's some leftist Christians and whatnot who I think are really nice and really cool, but ultimately, I think that the overwhelming majority of religious people, I think that it is dangerous. I think in ways that they don't realize, and I want
Hmm.
to convince them to leave that religion. I think that they'll be healthier mentally if they do. Um, because if you think about religion, it's really sick because it really devalues this life. Like, well, I don't have to work. I'm poor now. I have a shitty job, but in heaven I'll have a mansion. No, this is the only life you're going to have. So you need to value this life, value this moment right now, because it's all that we know that we have. This existence is temporary. And once you realize that, it's so like eye opening, because you realize, oh my god, my whole life I've been living for the next life when this is the only life that we're gonna get. So yeah, it made me really resent religion growing up, and especially with all the homophobia and the incorrect stuff that they told me, creationism. And
Hmm.
so yeah, I despise religion, and I don't blame my parents because they were brainwashed too. But I low key kind of blame my parents a little bit.
Hey, no problem. I mean, that's also a similar thing. I had a like it's going on 12 years. It will be 12 years in this upcoming summer. It's like I had a really bad experience with Pentecostalism. I
Mm,
went to a camp. Like I've never told this story before, and it's the first time I'm telling it. And I've tried really, 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 really hard to like erase that part of my life. Not even going to sugarcoat it. I've tried so hard to erase that religious part of my life that I wasn't raised as. And I had a really bad experience with Pentecostalism. When I say bad, really bad. If you put a scale 1 to 100, there's like a 1,000 past that was really bad about
mm,
Pentecostalism that I just did not like and I didn't appreciate. It's the way that folks, talked bad about, people who were uh, like like social issues, obviously abortion, gay rights. There was a sermon that was said once at this camp here in Missouri in like the deeper Midwest where this pastor, or I would say preacher, got up and made a really really homophobic like speech against the LGBT community, telling people who were gay or atheists that they were going to go to hell and the devil will welcome them, and then was going off on all like this, like we need to stop doing like you said with like pop culture and not being able to play the video games you want or read the books you
mm,
want or listen to the music you want. And I, in a way, I rebelled against it. Like I really, truly rebelled against it. And what really upset me was just like, as someone who was raised in the church, and although I no longer practice like anything at all, like period, it's like really hard for me to look at again like religion and be like, yeah, we're not. This is like, judge not. Yes, lest ye be judged. I'm screwing it up, but it's
mm.
like
No, I know. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
it's like you never really no one of religion, uh, especially in the far right wing, as we're seeing now with all this hateful, bigoted transphobia that's just terrible, like so
Mhm.
terrible. And it's just like all that stuff is coming back, and it's just like I'm reliving it horribly. And it's like, like 10 years ago, or maybe even longer than that now. Like all this stuff that we're seeing with like people who are transgender, like all these terrible bills and all these laws that these right wingers like Ron DeSantis and Santos, ugh, they're like passing all these hateful laws about like being anti-trans and telling them they can't use the bathroom that they of the gender that they as trans people identify as, and also like, well, they can't use their pronouns that they prefer to use, and it's just so it really gets under my skin. And it's like a decade ago I can still remember, Tyler Clemente.
Mhm.
And those who are not who are familiar, Tyler Clemente was the young college kid from Rutgers. He was 18 years old. He killed himself. He jumped off the George Washington Bridge because his roommate filmed without his consent a sexual encounter with another man. I don't mean to be discreet. I hope you don't mind. But
Oh, no, no, it's an important story.
and I look back at that, a decade ago, and you think that here we are all these years later, that things are going to be better, and they're not. It's the same exact thing as it was when I was growing up in Midwestern Missouri as a sophomore, junior, senior in high school. So it's like, you think that things are going to get better. And yeah, they have improved with like the legalization of same-sex marriage, but we still have a long way to go as far as like treating each other equally. And that's really painful for me because as a millennial, I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and reveal it to you. I'm a millennial. It's like my generation was the generation, or one of the generations next to Generation Z, that was supposed to change things, and we have, but we still sadly got a long way to go. And I didn't mean to go off topic, but that's just that's just something that I know you have been talking about in your streams,
Mhm.
that I have been, not only you, but a lot of like good faith people on the left have been talking about, as far as like treating everyone equal. And it's just really hard, and it's really like, again, it's really like just gets under my skin. And I know it does yours as well. And to the folks in the chat who are listening, and probably they identify as well, that this is just terrifying and just pathetic
Yeah.
in a lot
Yeah.
of ways. And I
Totally.
didn't mean to get so I didn't mean to go into a turn like that, but
No, that
uh,
was a great rant. No, that was great. No, everything you said, I were simpatico 100%. That was great.
so yeah, I mean, so I guess, like, how did that like shape your political, I guess, going back to the question I was asking, how it shaped your political views, like outside of like uh the religion that you were brought up as, like as you were growing up in, if I'm not mistaken, you were in Oregon, Portland, Oregon,
Mhm.
you grew up. So yeah, I did a little research, podcasting, listen this morning. So like with your view, like how you grew up in like Portland, Oregon, like how did that shape your political views as far as like being on the left?
Yeah, so even though my family was super duper evangelical, they still had some liberal views. Like my family was very, very anti-racist. We lived in a very diverse neighborhood. I grew up with kids of all colors, and I think that was really good because like if you don't have that environment, if you're not exposed to other people, then that's how like ignorance and fear kind of festers. And my family was always, they always have lived in really diverse areas. So that's one thing. Even though they went through conservative periods and were evangelical, they were at least anti-racist, which is really, really good. My dad fucking hated cops, hated them. So that kind of stuck with me. So it's not like everything from my childhood um was something that I discharged. There were a lot of things that they my family instilled in me
Hmm.
that have stayed. A lot of it is they were concerned about like the poor because my family was very poor. So welfare reform with Bill Clinton, like those moments were pretty formative. So I've always been very sensitive to working people, working class issues, people who are in poverty because that I grew up in poverty. My family survived off of food banks. I wouldn't have any clothes if we didn't go to the clothing banks and churches and get donations. So that kind of like stood with me. And that's why I think that uh, I focus a lot on these types of things because like this with the way that things are going, all of the wealth is getting concentrated. And you can just see like decade after decade, even year after year, the way that that is demonstrably leaving more people high and dry. Housing is becoming more expensive as real estate developers buy off politicians. As rent gets more expensive.
Oh,
People are
yeah.
becoming unhoused. So all these little things, like my fear of poverty, since I grew up in poverty, has kind of led me to this point where I'm very much pro working class, pro just regular person, and very anti elite. So I think that like if you kind of have that instinct to where you're anti-elite, pro-working class, I feel like you fall naturally into the left.
Yeah, that was the same way with me too, as far as like growing up. Like my mom was very liberal Democrat when it was okay to be that. I mean, now if you say you're a liberal Democrat, you cringe. But it's like weird.
Yeah.
She did like this weird left turn into like Trump conservatism, and
Mm.
so like my uncle, who is also, I should say, is part of the LGBTQ community. He is a gay man. He is a uh, so he is a liberal Democrat. We have had our differences. He grew up in the era of Bill Clinton. My younger sister, who is a year younger than I am, we're both Bernie people, and we grew up. I guess you could say work middle class, working class, whatever you would call that. Like, we had food stamps. We had well lived on. I mean, whatever my social security check gave my folks, and it's kind of shaped my own leftist worldview as an adult, as a 30-year-old. And now as I'm living on housing, and I was living on food stamps, but now I kind of have I pay with, as anyone would, with regular money, and but also going to school and getting extra money from the school to pay for college and books, and also to have kind of an extra money to spend to live, have an income. It has in a way shaped my worldview as a leftist, of like putting the little guy first, so to speak.
Mhm.
As also as, of course, the Bernie campaigns, the 2016, obviously in 2020, still pains me. I will admit that he did not become president, even though that there were some admitted flaws that he did in the 2020 campaign. Um, all that aside, he we know, as leftists, that we know who the person should be, who should be running in the White House right now, and
What could
it's
have
not the
been.
guy. What could have been, and hopefully 20. I mean, who knows what could happen with 2024? I mean, there's a lot of talk about Biden, and whether or not he's going to run again, even though he said he would, and that Bernie's like toying the idea of running again if Biden doesn't, and it's just like you never know.
Mhm.
You never know, and so I guess the next question I would ask, and this is kind of a weird question, not a weird question, but with all this stuff about left media and YouTube and stuff, like who is the I guess I would say, how is being a content creator on the left? Like, how does that feel to you? Like, because you get to, like you say, you're passionate about this. You get to do this like every day. It's like I said, it's better than working at a Subway.
Mhm.
um, how does that feel? Like at the end of the day?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, there are times when it's not so great. Sometimes you'll say something that will get you critiqued. I mean, I have
Mm,
thousands and thousands of videos on my channel. So at some point, somebody, even if you agree with me on 99% of the issues, I'm going to say something that you disagree with. Some people
mm,
don't take disagreement so well. Being a public figure, sometimes if I have a bad interaction on Twitter, people will shit on you endlessly for weeks. So there's some bad moments, and being a
mhm,
public figure kind of sucks. And I'm kind of like, I don't want to say I'm antisocial, but I'm like a very private person and pretty quiet, believe it or not, in real life. Well, maybe not quiet, but like I'm not like, I'm one of those people that kind of like likes to fade into the background, generally speaking. So it does feel weird. Like I feel like it's kind of uncharacteristic of my personality to have like a YouTube channel. But overall, I can't complain. I absolutely love it. If I can do things differently, I think I would structure the channel a little bit differently. So rather than doing daily news stories, I would maybe do video essays, which I still can do, but it's difficult when you get into this rhythm and you have to do news stories because that's what's expected. But I really like have had this itch lately to do really like deep dive content,
yeah,
do interviews, just switch it up, and I still can like mini documentaries. But overall, I can't complain. I really love being able to talk about politics every single day because before I had a platform, that's what I would do. I would talk about politics every single day, consume the content nonstop. I was going to school for politics and public policy. So I was living it, I was eating it, breathing it. So the fact that I'm lucky enough to be able to have a platform and do it as a job, I think is just incredibly like an excellent gig. I
Yeah,
complain sometimes, I bitch about the algorithm, but at the end of the day, I'm very, very fortunate, and I definitely try not to take it for granted. It's not necessarily a platform that I'll have forever. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows how long YouTube will exist? But
yeah.
so long as I can do this, I'm gonna do it because I do love it a lot.
Yeah, same here. I mean, even though that I've only been doing this for again like a year and a half, it's still is worthwhile. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of good to it. There's a lot of bad to it. Like I'm kind of the same way. I'm a hermit.
Mhm, yeah.
I I
That's
I
me.
I love my video games. I love like doing this. And I too like to kind of be in the background. I do look on Twitter. I do engage in the Twitter sphere, leftist sphere, but only on my terms. So if I have a point of view that I want to express, I usually, I make it and then I go away. And then sometimes the shell, as I say, comes out a little more and I want to engage more and more than I
Mhm.
usually do. And there is a I will admit a burning desire to do that, and I hope to do it like very, 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 very soon when I'm not so busy with other things in life. But I definitely want to get out of that hermit stage and start being more confident in what I do, and you know trying to let go of the shyness, so to speak.
Yeah, this will certainly help with that. When you talk to an audience, it's you just see a number on a screen, right? So it
Mhm.
doesn't mean much, but however many people are watching, like that's imagine if you were speaking to them in person, like that's a bunch of
Mhm.
people watching. So it does kind of help you get away from that shyness. But it's
Yeah,
difficult to not be a hermit in this environment. Like, the pandemic, there's, social media. So we're products of our environment. So like those of us who were kind of innately shy and hermits to begin with, like I feel like it made us worse, and like I'm speaking for myself, but it made me more of a hermit. So yeah, I do know what you mean, trying to like fight against that instinct, because I'm one of those people who I'm fucking good with just like video games and movies just forever. I don't need to go on
yeah.
vacation. I don't need to leave home. Like I'm satisfied.
Yeah, I'm a binge watch person myself.
Yeah.
I just love, staying at home, watching DVDs, watching anything that's on Netflix or whatever. And it
Hmm.
it it, it like I get out, like I do go places outside of my apartment, don't get me wrong. Um, Also, I have to. How Blair you on YouTube says we'll get to the question of the gaming, but he says I wish I could play Super Nintendo with you two. Yeah, I mean same here, Blair. I'm a big Nintendo person, and that's probably going to get me quote unquote canceled by some people that are in the gaming community, because Nintendo has kind of apparently gone off a deep dive, and I don't know. You can't see it, but I have an old school Wii behind me. I'll
Oh,
just show you. I'm just going to show it to you. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if I can move it. Um, let's see. See, I don't know if you can see it. It's there, the little white speck. It's hiding behind the television set, but it's there.
I think I see it.
Yeah. So it's like, even though I'm not behind at times, I do want to get a Switch, but money is tight, so it's
Hmm.
gonna have to kind of be work for now. But the other thing is, I'm very old school, and I've just started like during, not really during. I wish I had started it during the pandemic, but like this past like year to kind of want to do something like not to be bored, just start playing video games again, which is what I used to
Hmm.
do when I was much younger, before the internet boom happened. And yeah, I'm just gonna admit it right now, I'm a big Nintendo guy. I love all the other consoles. I had a PlayStation 2, I had an Xbox, I had PlayStation 3, and then it died. Long story.
No, no.
um, well, it was old. Well, it wasn't old. It was refurbished, and it didn't. It lasted more than like not even a month. So
See,
like,
we've had similar fates there. So this was the same generation as the Xbox 360, I believe, with the
mhm,
PS3. So
mhm,
get this, my PS3 died. And I had the really good one that had backwards compatibility, so I could play PS2, PS1. And so I
mhm.
was still under warranty. So when I sent it back to Sony, they sent me a refurbished Slim, which did not include backwards compatibility. That was really painful. Also, my Xbox 360, Red Ring of Death, right when I was towards the end of Bioshock, and it took
Oh,
months to get it back. So by the time they sent it back, I just like gave up on the game because I had no idea what I was doing. Like, you know how you kind of like get out of the groove and then you got to remember how to
yeah,
play,
yeah,
redevelop your skill. It was like I was too far. Like there was too much going on in the game. Like the difficulty had increased so much that I couldn't like pick up where I left off. So yeah, that was brutal. But look, I am never gonna fault anyone for being a fan of Nintendo. I am one of the biggest Nintendo simps ever, and I
yeah.
just finished Zelda Breath of the Wild again. And so when you
Oh,
get a
sweet.
Switch, no, make that your number one priority. It's so
Definitely. Well,
good.
see, I'm a big Zelda person myself. I'm big on Mario, obviously. I love
Mhm.
Smash Brothers. Like, I don't care. I don't care about if someone makes laughs at me or whatever. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna go, hopefully when it happens, to my grave, knowing that I was a big Mario Smash Brother geek. And all the stuff that I just, it's just like because like the GameCube, which the Wii, that Wii there is backwards compatible, so hallelujah. Like
Oh, right, yeah.
I was a GameCube person. I remember
Mhm.
22 years ago when I was 10 years old, that was the only thing I wanted. When I didn't get it for a birthday, I got it for Christmas. And when I got it for Christmas, I made sure to hope that either the game that came with it was either Super Mario Sunshine or Super Smash Brothers Melee, and you could guess which one it was. It was Mario Sunshine, and I played that thing to death. I only had the
Mhm.
GameCube for 3 years because, long story short, it got stolen. Like, it's not a
Oh.
good reason, which sucks. But when I got that Wii, which was a hand-me-down, it's a refurbished, but it still works. I went to my local used bookstore. I saved up my money. I spent $40 on a refurbished but working copy of Super Mario Sunshine, and I can tell you, Mike, I am in nostalgia heaven, whatever that
Mhm.
is. Whatever it is, I'm playing it, and even still, like, I even bought Smash Brothers Melee over the holidays. Of all places,
Nice.
Amazon, but when you're a default and things are cheap and you can't find it because it's hard to find at the local used bookstore, you have to go to Jeff Bezos' corporate machine, which I don't like going to, but, I'm in a bind, and again, default, and, I played that, and it's still the best thing. Like I'm now playing Melee. I haven't played since the holidays, since my spring semester started, but I'm hopefully during spring break between like streaming and whatnot, I'll be able to play some more Melee. And
I'm glad that you say that you like Super Mario Sunshine because I found out that apparently that's like controversial. Like I listened to Spawncast, and when they released the collection, the
mhm,
Mario collection back in like 2020, I want to say, it's like
yeah,
some of the members did not like Sunshine, and apparently it's kind of a common belief that it's like the worst Mario. But I love it. I think Sunshine
yeah,
is one of the
same
best.
here. Yeah, same here, same here. That I'm like, I don't. I mean, everyone has their opinion on those types of games, but I will go down in history saying that that was at least one of the best Mario games, hands down, next to Super Mario 64.
Oh yeah.
And that's the next question I was going to ask you, what your personal favorite video game was, because I do want to get into some
Mm.
gaming questions. Because I know that you game with David Dole, and I've seen it on YouTube where y'all are playing Mario, and it's just like, man, I so want to be there. I mean, I don't mean to be a social climber in that way, but I just want to wish I was there with you so I could play with y'all on. There's that gamer side of me that just comes out, and just like I'm being reintroduced to that again as a 30-year-old, and it's much more funner as it was when I was 10. And I
Oh
actually
yeah.
said that to David Dole. I said, David, he put a tweet out, I think last year about about that Mario Sunshine. And I said, yeah, GameCube version was always better. It was much better than it was much easier to play probably now than it was in 2001. And I was
Mm,
like 9 years old in 2001. So I don't know how old you were then. You were probably uh
mm. I was a
I was born.
teenager, but
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I was born in 1992, so that tells you how old I am.
Yeah, we David and I haven't played since then. I think since we streamed it, or maybe no, maybe we played Fall Guys, or that could have been with Matt Binder. I can't remember, but like we need to play. Like I think it would be fun to have like big lefty streams for video games. Although the problem is that I'm not very good. So when I'm playing by myself, I'm like super confident and cocky. But when I play with other people, they clap my
You
cheeks
just lose.
immediately. Yeah, I'm
you just,
so fucking
it's
bad.
not the same thing, man. It's just like you start playing, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna beat this motherfucker, and it's just like you lose all the time, and you're just like, God, because
It's painful.
I saw that Mario game y'all were playing, and you guys kept losing, and y'all are laughing your asses off, and I'm just like, these guys know how to have fun. All right,
Yeah,
there's a
you've
lot
got
of
to laugh
people.
at yourself.
Yeah, it's like these guys know how to have fun, and that's why I love you and David amongst a lot of other people on the left. I really enjoy watching. So, um, so we got way off topic with the video games. I wanted to ask you about like how did you come up? Like, where did you come up with the name Humanist Report?
Honestly, it was like one of the first names that I came up with as a placeholder. And I thought this is like a really lame, terrible name, so I'll change it later. Um, and then I just never did. I was like, well, I probably, if I am going to do the podcast, I should probably like come up with a better name. And I'm just not creative enough. So it stuck with it. It's just kind of like, well, at the time, like Humanist was probably like my main label. That's how I like really viewed the world. And I still do, but I think that it's probably more, um, accurate to say that I'm like first and foremost, like a socialist or a leftist, but humanists back then just kind of like I came up with it and it stuck. And it's such a terrible name. I
Yeah,
wish I was more creative.
I mean, I called my show the John Ross Show, which actually stands for TJRS. It's not the
Oh,
best name either. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm not really good at picking names, and so
same, yeah.
when I saw that, I was like, well, I hate to be egotistical because that's what it kind of feels like to me. Is why I was so reluctant to seriously do that. And I was just like, well, when I was making the logo on Adobe, I was like, I'm in a bind. I might as well just call it this and be happy. I can always do a rebrand somewhere down the road, if I
Well,
have
you know what? To your defense, you can get away with John Ross show because your name is just it's really short. My
yeah,
name, like if it was the Mike Figueredo show, like I mean the fucking confusion that would cause and people trying to find it and spell out my last name with all the vowels. So
mhm.
like that was something that I thought about, but it's like long term, I was like, oh, that's just gonna be more confusion. So that's why I kind of scrapped that idea. But if I could have gotten away with it, I probably would have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but you're doing well now. I mean, look at us. We're both doing as well as we have been.
Hmm.
What other question? Because I wrote so many questions down. I guess I could just get started like to the leftist mafia because I did want to talk to you about like because we did already touch on the social movements going on with the left. I guess I also could just touch on that with like when you look at the different social movements like on the left, like with like what's going on with supporting trans people, supporting people of color as far as like Black Lives Matter that we've been seeing these protest movements in that area that we've seen for the last 2 years. And is there like a moment where like you yourself like wants to just be there in person? Because I actually did that. I like right after George Floyd in Kansas City, like 2 or 3 days after uh, the incident, the terribleness of it happened. Um, I went to the Country Club Plaza and I went to the protest. And if you've been to Kansas City, if you've been to the Country Club Plaza, we have that big fountain, and I'll send you a picture of it later if you want me to elaborate on it more. But I went to the protest, and I went to like people holding up signs and like honk for George Floyd, and all that. And it was really like, I guess it in a way it was a really like good experience for me in a way to kind of know like what's been going on and how important this is and how much we seriously as a nation should change as
Mhm.
far as people of color, people minorities of all walks of life should be kind of, how would I say this, trying to put a period on it, how we should treat one another equally, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It does feel good to be in the company of other like-minded people, because there's that collective sense of rage and indignation. It really is good for the soul, and you realize that you're not so alone, right? There's other like-minded people.
Hmm.
I whenever I go to one of these events, I don't usually post it on social media, although I'll put it on like Patreon. Like I went to a pride protest over the summer. I didn't share it on like Twitter. I did put it in like one of my videos for a patron.
Hmm.
But I don't like to share myself going to like events just because I feels like I'm virtue signaling.
Yeah.
And I don't do it frequently enough, so I don't want people to think that I'm like this huge like an activist when in actuality I'm an advocate.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it is nice though to get out, and I try to encourage people to, even if they go to something as small as like a town hall with their elected official. That really is cathartic because you will meet people there who are like minded. I mean, I guess it depends on your area. So at least with me, like last time I went to a town hall, I met a lot of really like minded people, lots of nice people. At a different town hall, I met an old lady who loved my Bernie shirt, but she said she was voting for Pete Buttigieg, which killed my soul. But you meet a lot of a lot of nice people, and yeah, I think that if you have the opportunity to go to it, you should. Although in this climate, I say take precautions if you're going to go to a protest and protest police brutality. You need to protect yourself, especially,
Hmm.
and acknowledge that there may be brutality. Cover your face, dress in black, and make sure that people around you know your name and your contact. So yeah, but overall though, going to these political events, I would encourage it, even if you go to like a town hall meeting. I think that that's really good.
Yeah. I need to start doing, I hope to start doing that more in the near future because I've only worked on political campaigns, which is what I used to do before I did this. And
Mm.
those days are long gone. I'm actually glad I don't do them anymore because I do it in the summertime. And if you've done political campaign work, it's fulfilling, but it's also it can be draining because you're out
Mhm.
like for hours on end, knocking on doors, canvassing, trying to get the candidate you're supporting elected, and it does feel kind of like a waste if that person that you're supporting doesn't get elected. And I've
Mhm.
been there, and it's just kind of like, well, I kind of realize that that's just not really for me. If I'm going to be
Mhm.
talking about news and politics and whatnot, I'd rather have this avenue that I'm doing now. That's much better space because I can do it from home and I don't have to worry about leaving or anything like that. It's fulfilling that way.
Yeah, for sure.
So, um, I guess I kind of want to just jump right into the leftist mafia because that's the one thing. Because I've been watching or trying to watch. How many episodes have y'all done? You've done like 10, I think, at this point. I
I
checked.
know we're not at 10 yet. I think this next one is 9 or 10. Um, I'm not sure. I want to say 9. I'm going to say 9. Tomorrow is 9, I think.
Oh, okay, so so it's you, it's David, it's Olia. How do you say her name? I'm gonna mess it up.
Olimi. Or you can call her
Olay,
Ole as well. Yeah.
Ole. It's Lance from the Surfs. It's I forget who else because it's they it's called like a combination. Oh,
Illuminati.
Illuminati.
Yeah, yeah. She
Yeah,
hasn't been
Illuminati.
on, but I think that she returns tomorrow or the week after.
Okay, so what started that? Uh, what was that process for you guys? Because I mean, obviously you and Bender also, Matt Bender. You and Bender and David are obviously pretty friendly with one another. You've been on each other's streams, that in that kind of way. You know what I'm talking about, right? Just trying to
Mhm.
pull a joke in
Yeah, we
here.
had
Uh,
rapport. Yeah.
So how did that come to be? Basically, what I'm trying to say, because and how I mean, I'm not going to say how long you expect it to last because it's new.
Mhm,
Because I hope it lasts for a really long time because you guys have been doing a lot of good like conversation, a lot of good subject matter, especially on like Taibbi, which
mhm.
I mean, like I cannot believe I had reverence for this guy at one point because as when I was starting out as when I was like an aspiring young journalist, I read everything that he wrote in Rolling Stone. I will admit, but I look back on that now and I'm embarrassed because I'm like, this guy turned out to be such a fraud. And like,
Mhm.
if he tries to have a redemption, I don't know how it's going to work for him. But anyway,
Yeah.
back to how leftist mafia came about.
So basically, Lance held a big election stream for the election in November. And all of the people that are part of leftist mafia, or most of the people, were on that stream, and it was such a fun stream that it was like 6 or 7 hours. We ended up raiding a Charlie Kirk chat with blue waves, and we were like shit posting, like we're not like blue wave liberals, but we were having a ton of fun. And so Lance was like, "Hey, we should just do this every week. What do you say?" And we're like, "Sure." And that's basically how it got started. So yeah, we've been doing it since. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. I've been having so much fun. I think that everyone really brings something unique. Matt Binder brings the tech side. Olay bring as a public defender, she brings in the legal aspect, and as a police abolitionist, bringing in that perspective is, I think, really important. We all kind of focus on certain things. I focus on LGBTQ plus rights. I feel like we all like balance each other out. And I think that we have different types of personalities that work really well, same types of senses of humor. So yeah, I hope it lasts a really long time. But as long as it's going on, I'm gonna enjoy it. Oh yeah, somebody in my chat says that even drunk Voss showed up at the end. Also, RM Brown was there too, but he didn't end up joining the full show because he does. If you don't watch RM Brown, I mean, you're missing out.
I,
He's
yeah,
fucking
I've heard of him. Yeah,
hilarious.
he's great. He's
I
great.
love
I
RM
used to,
Brown.
of
But yeah,
course.
he was one of the people there, but he didn't do it like full time. So we kind of had people on that election stream kind of shuffle in and out, but the ones who were there the most, we all ended up, becoming the leftist mafia essentially.
Yeah. I mean that I mean again, I hope it lasts a long time and I hope y'all do it. I'll be sure to maybe throw something. Do you guys do it on YouTube and Twitch simultaneously like this or is it like separate?
Yeah, so Lance streams it on Twitch while David streams it on YouTube. And when Illuminati is back, she'll stream it on her second YouTube channel too. So there's a couple of different avenues, and if you miss it live, you can catch the VOD on my channel. Matt, I believe, puts it out a day after I do on his channel. And so it's kind of nice to have it like to where you can watch it 3 days in a row. So if you miss it, it's there again. There's a reminder, and yeah, so like it's hard to tell how well it's doing, but the response has been like overwhelmingly positive. And even the VODs, like even though it's like a day late, they get pretty solid views, considering how long they are. Because
Yeah.
if you put out like a 2 hour video, like that's gonna die. But like for Leftist Mafia, they reached like 10K views almost, which is really really impressive. And when you like compare that to or add that to like the live stream with David and Lance and his VODs, there's a lot of people watching, and it's so cool to know that the response has been so positive and people are receptive to like a bunch of lefties coming together and kind of just like talking shit because often sometimes we don't even talk about anything substantive. Like we'll get into contested debates about fucking like Harry Potter as we did last week. So, sometimes we don't do anything more than shoot the shit, but it's really fun. It's a good balance of substance and just like talking smack. And I feel like it's what we like needed on the left. Not to like overstate like the importance, like we have some mission, but you know what I mean? Like it's we
Yeah.
need to not take
Yeah.
ourselves so seriously and
Yeah,
just kind of like
it's like a laid back thing, which is generally what I like doing.
yeah.
It's like a laid back, like you're all friends, you all like know each other. You're just, as you say, shooting the shit with like different subjects, and it's like and for me, I love watching the full episodes, but I always love the clips. Like I can
Yeah.
watch the full episodes like anytime, anywhere. But if there's like a certain subject that I'm interested in that you or anyone else is doing, then I like to go for the full, just the clip, and just like
Mhm.
watch that as many times as possible and be like, oh yeah, that was really good. It's you
Mhm.
guys and David Griscom and Matt Leck on Left Reckoning who are also
They're
great
great.
people. Yeah, I mean David and I are the same age, if you can believe it. Although he looks a little older than I do. Well, see, I'm May of '92. He's October '92. So there's
Oh,
a
that's
few.
pretty close though.
Yeah, I mean we're both 30. I've just been like, he's just. It's nice to have someone that is my age that is great and is like minded.
Mhm.
Um, so I guess we have to jump into 2024 to kind of wrap this up because we've been going for an hour. Unless you want to stay for a couple, like another hour.
I
And
can't do another hour because I've gotta
okay,
start editing, but I
oh,
can we can do another question.
sure. I had two, but I'll
Yeah,
just
we could do both of them.
okay. So the first one, obviously, I don't mean to bring this up again with 2024 and Biden and whether or not he's going to run because we kind of already talked about it, and it's just
Mhm.
something that everybody on the left is talking about every single day. It does get tiring, but I guess I'll
Mhm.
just end, I'll end with that. Like thoughts on the 2024 presidential election, and what do you think is going to happen? Do you think Biden's actually going to see it through and get reelected? And do you think there's going to be somebody challenging from the left? And also on the other side, of course, Trump running in 2024. But now we've got obviously DeSantis, but Nikki Haley, she's thrown her hat in the ring, but she has yet to announce. So,
Mm.
what's your kind of, I guess you could say, analysis of the race, of that potential race going forward?
Um, a lot can change between now and then, but I'm actually anticipating this to be a pretty boring election. I think
Mm,
that on the Democratic Party side, Biden will run again most likely, and he will get the nomination. The incumbents, it's a guaranteed dub. That being said, if there is a leftist primary challenger like Marianne Williamson, I will enthusiastically support her. But I mean, I think that she even knows that the odds of her winning are like maybe one in a trillion. But her goal is to kind of influence the conversation, influence, the direction of his second term, if possible. And I respect that. I like that she has a very sober approach to it. So I'll support Marianne if she runs, or any other leftist if they run. But it's going to be Biden on the Democratic Party side. When it
yeah,
comes to the Republican Party side, I also think it's going to be probably kind of boring. I think that Trump
yeah,
is going to sweep most likely. There was some signs that DeSantis was overtaking him, but I think Trump's probably going to win, which sucks because my dream, which I don't think is going to come to fruition, but my dream is to have DeSantis beat Trump in a primary. And to be clear, I think that DeSantis is far more dangerous than Trump. But here's how I want it to play out: I want DeSantis to beat Trump in the primary, and I want Trump to be so angry that he runs third party, tanks it for both of them. That would be the most hilarious outcome. But I just don't think
it's
that
gonna happen.
we're lucky enough to see that. Yeah. So I think that the most boring outcome is going to be that Biden runs again. Trump wins pretty handily. There's a couple of debate moments, this year that go
Yeah,
viral, that are funny, but ultimately it's just the rematch. And I hope that I'm
yeah.
wrong. I was wrong in 2016. Hopefully I'm wrong now.
Yeah, same. But like, I guess the one upside, admittedly, that it's going to happen, it's going to be great for us content creators because we're going to have a lot of stuff like material to work with going forward. And when a boring election like that happens, it will be able for us to like analyze everything and just like how do you say it, maneuver our way through, so to speak.
Yeah, I kind of have election fatigue still. We just finished up an
Yeah,
election, so the thought of covering another election, I feel a sense of dread. But maybe
yeah,
I'll get more into it as time progresses. But right now, I just have no interest in talking about these fucking Republicans. Like
neither do I.
like this primary, like,
It's
the
just
thought is
so yeah,
nauseating.
it's just so just just boring and dull, and just it's just like makes you want to pull your hair out, basically.
Yeah, mentally, I'm not prepared for it. So,
It can be, and it can be admittedly so anxiety producing and depressing, and it's just like,
Ooh,
yeah.
yeah.
So I guess for the last question, so as someone like myself who is new to the leftist content creator group community, um, if you could give any advice to me, if you can, like what would it be?
Never be afraid to share your actual opinion. Never self censor. So, like, if you start, getting some views and clicks, because you follow a certain path. Let's say you're like talking about, I don't know, just something like eating the rich is bad, and you see really get a lot of applause, but then you start talking about something else. Um, that instinct is going to be, no, you should talk about the same thing again, because that's what gets views. Just follow what you think is interesting, because believe it or not, the audience that you built up, they're there for you and they want to hear your thoughts. And so don't self-censor. Acknowledge whenever audience capture becomes a possibility, and just have fun with it. That's like the most important thing. If you're not having fun with it, then I think that your viewers will see that. So
Yeah,
to be successful, you've gotta really be enjoying it, and that'll come through in your content. So that's kind of like the best thing that I could say. And I tell myself this advice too, because I'm really bad at it, but try to keep it short and sweet. I'm fucking terrible at this, but usually
yeah.
people have short attention spans, and if you can keep a video like under 10 minutes, it'll probably do better. I I fail at this every single time.
I drone. I mean, I can do a hard relay because I do drone on.
Mhm.
I do
Same,
drone on,
same.
and it's just a lot of it is because of the autism, but it's also just because I'm trying to get through what I'm trying to say, and it's just like this is what I'm trying to say. This is what I mean. I hope it's coming through all right. I hope I'm making sense. If I'm not, let me know, and I'll try to clarify. That's
Mhm.
the kind of thing. So, how Blair you on YouTube says, "Job well done, thank you." Big fan to Mike.
Oh,
Um,
thank you, Blair.
Political Pain, Joe Payne says, "Hey gang, hope you're doing well. Thanks, Joe.
Hey.
Go follow him on YouTube. He does Political Pain. He also does the fact that he does a movie podcast. I am gonna have to remember because I'm having a memory impairment. But that's usually the chats on my end. Is there any chats on your end that you want to bring up real quick, or is it just the same?
Um, I'll just send a shout out to Emo Dragon jumped in. I'm sure that Emo Dragon and you are probably mutuals on Twitter.
Yeah.
And yeah, and Hildebeest, gotta send a shout out to Hildebeest as always.
Thanks,
She's
Sylvie.
incredible.
Yeah,
Like,
she's great. I follow her on Twitter as well, and she's great on Twitch. I've had a lot of interactions with her,
she's
and
amazing.
mutual friends have. It's she's awesome. Anyone else, real quickly, or is that about it?
I think that's it.
That it? Oh, it's kind of slow, for a Wednesday night, but that's life of the leftist Twitch streamer. So I guess with that, I guess you could go ahead and plug yourself if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
I'm Mike from the Humanist Report. You can find me on Twitch every single Wednesday, and I'm on YouTube like every single day, never leaving. So yeah.
Yeah, same here. So, Mike, it was an honor to get to know you personally and get to interview you. I know that it was really hard for me to actually track you down to see how to do this because I sent you so many DMs
Oh, did
before
you? I
the
didn't see.
holiday season. And then finally I went through your email because I went to your website. I'll just email it to you that I want to have you on and interview you. And then finally the last ditch resort, which was I normally would not do this, was actually go on your live Twitch stream and just say, hey, I want to do an interview with you on my own on my own YouTube and just like my own YouTube and Twitch and just talk to you and get to know you because again you've been you're one of the greats.
Oh well, that means so much. I really appreciate it. It's been fun, and yeah, we'll be in touch. I wish you luck, brother, with your podcast, and keep crushing it.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Well, take care.
Take care, man. Have a good evening.
You too.
That was Mike Figueredo from the Humanist Report. You can find him on Twitch and YouTube. As always, let me throw up my own captions. Any more questions? Yes, thank you, Adrian. You should speak up if you can. Sounds good on here, but you're quiet on Mike's stream. Yeah, I realized that. I actually turned up the volume on my own stream on my end. It was kind of low. So I made sure to rectify that. So thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for letting me know, Adrian. I appreciate it. This is Clueless Ron. Obviously, a shout out. Proud to say both mutuals on Twitter. Obviously, yes. The friend, dear friend. Let's see. Yeah, so excited for me. I mean, yeah, this was a winner. Who is your next dream guest? Um, well, I still have to talk to him, but I'm hoping to get Ben Burgess on from Give Them an Argument because he's got something that I want that he's doing. He's doing a blog, and we talked again in December about coming on. So I'm hopefully going to have him on again. Actually, let me bring the overlay. There we go. Bring Ben on again before, right? Actually, after the State of the Union, because I wasn't going to announce this until now. But yes, yeah, that'd be awesome. I still haven't talked to him yet, so he's still. I'm still waiting to hear back from him. And also, I should say, Blair, Adrian, Joe, whoever else is here, Radical Democrat says hello. Great to see you. Welcome in. I'm going to be streaming the State of the Union. It'll be my first like big political event that I'll be doing on the 6th, I believe, of February. Let me check. Yeah, February 6th is, I think, the State of the Union. And I will be streaming, and reacting and critiquing and what have you of what we'll be seeing. So, yeah, that was something I also wanted to do and give that a try, just because, hey, it's part of the culture here in a way. So, yeah, with that, let me bring in the graphics, the ticker, bring this here. So yeah, you can catch the show. I will say like and subscribe. I do have a Patreon, which I will admit that I am just started to look at. It actually started working. I actually kind of figured it out, and so I'm still trying to maneuver that to make sure that it works. That hopefully people can donate whatever they can, to help grow the show. And also follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, obviously. I mean, the people who are here are all friends, so they know, right? So they already follow me. So, with that, I am going to end it. And again, thanks to everyone. Thanks to Mike, left his best. Rest in power, Michael Brooks. And I will see you next time. Peace.